It's been a pleasure to be amongst so many disagreeable people like myself. So transgender censorship is supposed to refer to censorship of transgender topics, often by transgender people, but not always. There have been two main controversies that are pretty much separate. On the left is Leah Thomas, who was a student at University of Pennsylvania and during undergraduate began to identify as a woman, or at least a trans woman, was allowed to compete among women, went from being a mediocre male swimmer to being a nationally ranked female swimmer, also was allowed to dress in the women's locker room while still having a penis. This controversy has been called men and women's spaces, and also includes men being sent to women's prisons, among other things. This figure is the number of referrals for gender dysphoria at the United Kingdom National Clinic, and you can see that dramatic rise, very recent rise. This has been true everywhere in the Western world, including the United States. Just really quickly, how many of you know a family with a trans-identified adolescent or child? Okay, almost everybody here. So the previous controversy mainly was about males who are transgender. This is predominantly about females, natal females, especially adolescent females who are transgender, and the phenomenon, the theory offered to explain the phenomenon is rapid onset gender dysphoria by Lisa Lippman. This is the period of transgender medicalization. Over on the left, that person's name was Lily Elbe. Lily Elbe was a Danish man married to a woman who enjoyed pretending to be a woman. That enjoyment turned into obsession. In 1930, Elbe was castrated. Early transgender surgery the next year. Elbe went, she underwent surgery for a neovagina and a uterus transplant, and died shortly thereafter of infection. Over on the right is a natal female, a biological female, named Chase Strangio, who is the new face of ACLU censorship, and recently argued in front of the Supreme Court that there is a constitutional right for minors to obtain biological gender transition. That's the first episode of Transgender Censorship, 2003. That's my book, The Man Who Would Be Queen. It underwent a very strong attack by mainly three transsexual trans women, natal males identifying as females, and don't have time to go into it now. You should read Alice Drager's excellent book, Galileo's Middle Finger, though the main reason why it was attacked is because I wrote about the idea of autogynephilia, which is very important in understanding transgender. And although despite their best efforts, I wasn't fired, and the book remained in print, they successfully suppressed interest in studying and writing about autogynephilia, I would say, to the present date. The big epidemic of transgender censorship started in 2015. Each one of those vertical lines represents a separate episode. This was the first, the worst, and the most important. This is Ken Zucker, who was and is the world's leading scholar of gender dysphoria in children and adolescents. He had two ideas that transgender activists especially found offensive. One is that gender dysphoria in childhood usually resolves on its own. And the other is that it's better not to medically transition children if you can avoid it. So maybe try psychotherapy first. He was fired from his job at the important clinic and research center that he helped found. This is a color-coded list of the censorships that I depicted in the previous figure, and the nature of the controversy matches the name of the censored. I'll give you a few seconds to look. This is color-coded of who the censors were. Notice that Littman got all three colors. These are the outcomes, and I included as job loss both people like Zucker who were fired, but also people like Kathleen Stock and Carol Hooven who were not fired, but their jobs were made impossible in various ways. I assume Carol will talk about her own experience soon. Andrea James is a deranged trans woman who began to attack me in 2003 for my book, and everybody in here is in red because they are all named and worse on Andrea James' website. You can say, okay, well, big deal, named on a website. Well, that entails things like this. You get a flattering picture and a web page devoted to how evil you are. And the worst is that when possible, she will name your spouse and your children and include information about them. That upsets some people. There is no room for sissies in this domain. Censorship of worthy scholars is accompanied by promotion of the unworthy, who for ideological reasons want to medicalize gender dysphoric youth. These are some of the most prominent names. Please take a picture, spread it around, tell them I sent you. On the left is an article that I published in 2023, the second empirical article about rapid onset gender dysphoria. It was retracted from the journal Archives of Sexual Behavior, not by the journal editor, who is Ken Zucker, but by the publisher, Springer Nature, who also publishes Nature, Human Behavior, Nature, and so on, ostensibly for ethical reasons. I call bullshit. It was for ideological reasons. Subsequently, the journal Current Psychology did a special issue on retraction, asked me to write up my experience. I did. It was accepted. Guess who publishes Current Psychology? Springer Nature. Guess who rescinded my acceptance? The right-hand slide is from Retraction Watch, who did an article about this. I was meta-censored. And I narrowly avoided, it would have been an achievement, being meta-censored, because I did publish, finally, an article in Archives of Sexual Behavior about both of these things. Finally, these are not our sponsors. These are institutions that should be important for finding truth, who failed and participated in censorship. Thank you.